Welcome. I'm so glad you're here, taking this time for yourself. In a world that never seems to slow down, you've made a choice that many people struggle to make. You've decided to pause, to listen, and to explore what it means to truly be present in your own life. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat in complete silence? Not the silence of waiting for something, but the silence of simply being? For most of us, that kind of moment feels rare, almost luxurious. We live in an age of constant stimulation. Our phones buzz with notifications. Our minds race with to-do lists. Our hearts carry the weight of yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's worries. The ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "Silence is a source of great strength." And yet, we've become afraid of silence. We fill every gap with noise, every moment with distraction. We've forgotten how to sit with ourselves. This is where meditation comes in, not as an escape from life, but as a way to finally arrive in it. Daily meditation isn't about becoming someone different. It's about remembering who you've always been beneath the layers of stress, anxiety, and endless mental chatter. Think about your typical day. You wake up, perhaps to an alarm that jolts you from sleep. Before your feet even touch the floor, you're already thinking about everything you need to do. You check your phone. You rush through breakfast or skip it entirely. You move through your day on autopilot, your body present, but your mind scattered across a dozen different concerns. By evening, you're exhausted, but not from the kind of work that feels fulfilling. You're tired from the constant state of doing, from never truly arriving anywhere. You collapse into bed, scroll through your phone one more time, and the cycle begins again. Does this sound familiar? You're not alone. Millions of people live this way, feeling like passengers in their own lives, watching the days blur together into weeks, months, and years. But here's the beautiful truth that meditation reveals. You have the power to change this pattern, not by adding more to your plate, but by learning to be fully present with what's already here. The Buddha taught that the secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past, worry about the future, or anticipate troubles, but to live in the present moment wisely and earnestly. This wisdom, spoken over 2,000 years ago, is perhaps more relevant today than ever before. When we practice daily meditation, we're training our minds to come home to the present moment. We're learning to notice when our thoughts have drifted into the past or future and gently guiding ourselves back to now. This simple act, repeated daily, transforms everything. You might be wondering, how can just sitting and breathing make any real difference in my complicated life? It's a fair question. The answer lies not in the complexity of the practice, but in its consistency. Imagine a drop of water falling on a stone. One drop does nothing, but a drop falling in the same place every single day for months and years, that drop eventually shapes the stone. Your daily meditation practice is that drop of water. Your restless, anxious mind is the stone. Change happens not through force, but through patient, consistent presence. In the coming chapters, we'll explore different aspects of mindfulness and meditation together. We'll talk about breathing, about being present, about working with difficult emotions, and about bringing this practice into every corner of your life. But before we go any further, I want you to understand something important. This isn't about perfection. You don't need to sit in a perfect lotus position, empty your mind completely, or achieve some mystical state. Those ideas have kept so many people from even trying meditation. They think, I can't do it right, so why bother? Let me tell you right now, if you're breathing, you can meditate. If you can notice that you're thinking, you can practice mindfulness. That's it. That's the whole game. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote in his personal journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the promise of daily meditation. Not that life will become easier, but that you will become stronger, calmer, and more resilient in the face of whatever comes. So as we begin this journey together, I invite you to release any expectations about what meditation should be. Instead, approach this practice with curiosity and gentleness. Some days will feel peaceful and clear. Other days, your mind will be a circus of thoughts and distractions. Both kinds of days are perfect. Both teach you something valuable. The Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh often reminds us that the present moment is the only time over which we have dominion. Not yesterday, which is already gone. Not tomorrow, which hasn't arrived. Only this breath, this heartbeat, this moment. And that's actually wonderful news, isn't it? You don't have to fix everything at once. You don't have to become someone different. You just have to show up for this moment, and then the next, and then the next. That's the path. Practice your first mindful moment. Before we move to the next chapter, I want you to try something simple. If you're listening to this while doing something else, that's okay. But if you can, take a moment right now to pause. Close your eyes if you're in a safe place to do so. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. As you breathe in, notice the cool air entering your nostrils. As you breathe out, notice the warm air leaving. That's it. Just 3 breaths where you're fully present with the sensation of breathing. Notice how you feel after those 3 breaths. A little calmer? A little more here? That's the power of presence. And you can access it anytime, anywhere, with nothing more than your attention and your breath. This is just the beginning. Welcome to the practice of daily meditation and mindfulness awareness. Welcome home to yourself. Chapter 2, The Power of Breathing, Anchoring the Mind. Let's talk about something you've been doing since the moment you were born, something so automatic that you rarely think about it at all. Your breath. Right now, as you listen to these words, you're breathing. Your lungs are expanding and contracting. Air is moving in and out of your body. And if I hadn't just mentioned it, you probably weren't even aware of it. This is how we live most of our lives, completely disconnected from the most fundamental process that keeps us alive. The breath is extraordinary when you really think about it. It's the bridge between your conscious and unconscious mind. It's the only automatic bodily function that you can also control voluntarily. And it's always with you, always available as an anchor when your mind starts to drift away. In almost every wisdom tradition across the world, breath has been recognized as sacred. In Sanskrit, the word for breath is prana, which also means life force or vital energy. In Hebrew, ruach means both breath and spirit. The ancient Greeks used pneuma for both breath and soul. These connections aren't coincidental. Our ancestors understood something profound. Breath is life itself. The Persian poet Rumi wrote, "There is one way of breathing that is shameful and constricted. Then there's another way, a breath of love that takes you all the way to infinity. He was pointing to a truth that meditation teachers have always known. How we breathe affects not just our bodies, but our minds and spirits. When you're anxious, what happens to your breath? It becomes shallow and rapid, stuck in your upper chest. When you're calm and peaceful, your breath naturally deepens and slows. It moves into your belly. But here's the beautiful thing. This relationship works both ways. If you can consciously slow and deepen your breath, you can actually change your emotional state. Think about the last time you felt really stressed. Maybe you were stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting, or perhaps you received bad news. In those moments, did anyone ever tell you to just take a deep breath? It probably felt like useless advice at the time, but physiologically, it's one of the most powerful interventions available to you. When you take slow, deep breaths, you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your nervous system responsible for rest and relaxation. You're literally telling your body, it's safe. You can calm down now. Your heart rate slows. Your blood pressure decreases. Stress hormones begin to subside. This isn't mystical. It's biology. Your breath is a remote control for your nervous system, and you're holding it in your hand right now. The Buddha gave instructions for breath meditation that have remained essentially unchanged for 25 centuries. He taught his students to simply note, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. That's it. No fancy techniques. Just awareness of what's already happening. But in that simplicity lies profound transformation. When you're fully present with your breath, where is your anxiety about the future? Where is your regret about the past? They vanish because they can only exist when your mind has left the present moment. Let me share something practical. You don't need a meditation cushion or a quiet room to practice breath awareness. You can do it right now, wherever you are. In fact, let's try it together. Notice your next inhale. Don't change it. Don't control it. Just notice it. Feel the air entering your nostrils. Feel your chest or belly expanding. Now notice the exhale. Feel the air leaving your body. Feel the natural release. Did you notice something? For those few seconds, you weren't thinking about anything else. You were just breathing and knowing that you were breathing. That's meditation. That's mindfulness. And you just did it. Thich Nhat Hanh teaches a beautiful practice he calls breathing in, breathing out. He says, breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment. It's a simple verse that you can use to guide your breathing practice, matching the words to your natural breath rhythm. Many people tell me they've tried meditation and failed because they couldn't stop thinking. They believe meditation means having a blank mind, and when thoughts inevitably arise, they judge themselves as doing it wrong. But here's what they don't understand. Thoughts aren't the problem. Getting lost in thoughts is natural. The practice is noticing when you've gotten lost and gently returning to the breath. When you really pay attention to breathing, you start to notice its rhythm. The natural pause between the inhale and exhale. The way each breath is slightly different from the last. The way breathing feels in different parts of your body. This kind of intimate attention to something so simple and ordinary can become a doorway to profound peace. I want to share something personal. There have been times in my own life when everything felt overwhelming, when problems seemed unsolvable and the future looked dark. And in those moments, the only thing I could do was breathe. Not because breathing would fix anything external, but because it brought me back to the only place where I have any real power, the present moment. Marcus Aurelius, who faced tremendous challenges as Emperor of Rome, wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." He understood that we suffer most when we try to live everywhere except where we actually are. The breath is how we confine ourselves to the present. It's always happening now. Practice the 5-minute breath meditation. I'd like you to try this practice once a day for the next week. It only takes 5 minutes, and you can do it anywhere. Sit comfortably. You don't need any special position. A chair works perfectly. Close your eyes or lower your gaze. Begin to notice your breathing without changing it. For the first minute, just observe where you feel the breath most clearly. Is it at your nostrils? Your chest? Your belly? There's no right answer. Just notice. For the next 3 minutes, count your breaths. Inhale 1. Exhale 2. Inhale 3. Exhale 4. Continue up to 10, then start over. When you lose count, and you will, simply start again at 1. No judgment. Just begin again. For the final minute, release the counting and simply rest in the feeling of breathing. You're not trying to accomplish anything, just breathing and being breathed. When you're done, notice how you feel. Different than 5 minutes ago? That difference, however subtle, is what happens when you anchor yourself in presence. That's the power of breath. Chapter 3, Being Present, Escaping Past and Future. Where are you right now? I mean, really, where are you? If you're like most people, you're in at least 3 places at once. Your body might be sitting in a chair or walking down a street. But your mind? It could be in last week's argument, or tomorrow's presentation, or that embarrassing thing you said 5 years ago that still makes you cringe. We have this incredible ability as humans to time travel in our minds. It's what allows us to learn from the past and plan for the future. It's an evolutionary advantage. But somewhere along the way, we forgot how to come back. We became permanent time travelers, rarely arriving in the only moment that actually exists right now. The German spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle asks a profound question. Have you ever experienced, done, thought, or felt anything outside the now? When you really sit with this question, you realize the answer is no. Everything you've ever experienced happened in a present moment. Every joy, every sorrow, every triumph, every failure, all occurred in the now. Yet we spend most of our mental energy dwelling on moments that no longer exist or worrying about moments that haven't arrived. We live everywhere except where our feet are. And this is the source of so much unnecessary suffering. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're having dinner with someone you care about. They're telling you a story, but you're not really listening. Part of your mind is replaying a work conversation from earlier. Another part is planning what you'll say when it's your turn to talk. Another part is thinking about the email you need to send later. Meanwhile, this person in front of you, their expressions, their emotions, their presence, all of it is happening right now, and you're missing it. Later, you might not even remember what they said. Not because your memory is bad, but because you were never actually there. This is how we miss our lives. We spend them planning, remembering, worrying, and anticipating, all while the actual moments of our lives slip by unnoticed. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man. Everything is constantly changing, flowing, moving. The only thing we can ever really touch is this flowing present. When we practice mindfulness, we're training ourselves to step into the river, to feel the water as it moves around our ankles, to notice the temperature, the current, the play of light on the surface. Not the river we were in yesterday, not the river we'll be in tomorrow. This river, this moment, this breath. But being present isn't always comfortable. In fact, that's often why we avoid it. When we're fully present, we feel everything. Not just the pleasant things, but also boredom, restlessness, grief, loneliness. All those feelings we usually keep at arm's length by staying busy and distracted. Pema Chödrön, the American Buddhist nun, teaches about the wisdom of no escape. She says we spend our lives trying to escape discomfort, but the escape itself is what creates our suffering. When we finally stop running and turn toward our experience, whatever it is, we discover that we're stronger than we thought. Think about the last time you felt bored. Maybe you were waiting in line or sitting in traffic. What did you do? Probably reached for your phone, right? We've become so uncomfortable with simple presence that even 30 seconds of boredom feels intolerable. But what if that moment of boredom is actually an invitation? An invitation to simply be alive, breathing, aware? What if those empty moments are actually full of life, and we just haven't learned to see it? When you're stuck in traffic, you can spend that time angry and anxious, treating it as wasted time. Or you can arrive in the present moment. Feel your hands on the steering wheel. Notice the colors of the cars around you. Listen to the sounds. Take a few conscious breaths. Suddenly, the moment transforms. You're no longer stuck. You're simply here, alive, aware. This is what the present moment offers, freedom from the prison of past and future. The past is gone. You can't change it. The future hasn't happened. You can't control it. But this moment is yours. Lao Tzu wrote, "If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present." It's such a simple formula, but it explains so much of human suffering. Depression often involves ruminating on past events, replaying them, wishing things had gone differently. Anxiety is almost always about the future, things that might happen, things that could go wrong. Peace exists only in the present, because in this very moment, right now, are you okay? Usually, the answer is yes. I want to tell you about a practice I learned that changed my relationship with presence. It's called noting. Throughout your day, at random moments, simply note where you are. Not just physically, but mentally. Are you here, or are you time traveling? Oh, you might be washing dishes and suddenly realize your mind is in tomorrow's meeting. Just note it. Planning. You might be playing with your child and notice you're thinking about work, worrying. No judgment, just a gentle acknowledgement, and then a return to what's actually happening right now. This practice reveals something surprising. We're almost never where we think we are. We're physically in one place while our minds wander through time and space. But each time you catch yourself and come back, you're strengthening your capacity to live in reality rather than in the stories your mind tells about reality. The Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh has a beautiful way of teaching presence. He suggests that when you walk, just walk. When you eat, just eat. When you wash dishes, just wash dishes. Not as a chore to get through so you can do something else, but as the activity that is your life right now. He tells a story about washing dishes. You can wash dishes to get them clean so you can eat dessert. In that case, you're not alive during the time you're washing dishes. You're not really there. Or you can wash dishes to wash dishes. To feel the warm water, to see the soap bubbles, to move your hands consciously and carefully. Then you're alive in that moment, and washing dishes becomes a meditation. What would it be like to bring that quality of attention to everything you do? Getting dressed in the morning, brushing your teeth, walking to your car. These ordinary moments are actually your life. They're not obstacles between you and the important moments. They are the moments. The Sufi mystic Rumi wrote, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." What we really love, beneath all our desires and fears, is simply to be alive. Fully, completely alive. And that's only possible in the present moment. Practice the grounding exercise. Here's a simple practice to bring yourself fully into the present moment whenever you notice you've drifted into past or future. It's called 5-4-3-2-1, and you can do it anywhere, anytime. Notice 5 things you can see. Really look at them. Their colors, shapes, textures. Notice 4 things you can touch or feel. The chair beneath you, your feet on the ground, your clothes against your skin, the air temperature. Notice 3 things you can hear. Don't judge the sounds as good or bad. Just hear them. Notice 2 things you can smell. Or if you can't smell anything, 2 things you can imagine smelling that bring you comfort. Notice 1 thing you can taste. Or take a conscious sip of water and really taste it. By the time you finish this exercise, you'll be fully present. Your mind will have returned from wherever it wandered to. And from this place of presence, you can move forward into the next moment of your life with awareness and intention. The present moment is not somewhere you need to get to. You're already here. You're always here. The practice is simply remembering that. Chapter 4. Awareness of the body, the temple of mindfulness. Your body is talking to you right now. It's been talking to you all day, every day, since you were born. The question is, are you listening? Most of us spend our lives living from the neck up, treating our bodies as vehicles that carry our heads around. We ignore the signals our bodies send until they become screaming emergencies. Pain we can't ignore, illness that forces us to stop, exhaustion that knocks us down. But your body is not just a vehicle. It's not separate from you. In Buddhist teaching, the body is often called the temple of mindfulness. It's the ground of your existence, your home, the place where presence actually happens. Think about your body right now. Where are you holding tension? Is it in your jaw, your shoulders, your belly? I'd be willing to bet there's tension somewhere, and until I mentioned it, you weren't even aware of it. We carry so much in our bodies without knowing it. The Buddha taught that the body is one of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. He instructed his students to contemplate the body in the body, to become intimately aware of physical sensations without judgment or reactivity. This wasn't about achieving some perfect physical state. It was about coming home to the felt experience of being alive. When we disconnect from our bodies, we disconnect from the present moment. Because the body only exists in the now. It can't be anywhere else. Your thoughts can time travel, but your body is always right here, breathing, feeling, sensing. John Kabat-Zinn, who brought mindfulness into Western medicine, often says, as long as you're breathing, there's more right with you than wrong with you. He's pointing to a profound truth. Your body is constantly working to keep you alive. Your heart beats without you telling it to. Your lungs breathe. Your stomach digests. Your cells regenerate. This miracle is happening every single second. And yet, how often do you pause to appreciate it? To feel gratitude for this body that carries you through your life? I want you to think about the last time you really paid attention to a physical sensation. Not pain, necessarily, but any sensation. The warmth of sunlight on your skin. The taste of something delicious. The feeling of cool water when you're thirsty. In those moments of real attention, where is your anxiety? Where is your planning mind? Gone. Because when you're fully in your body, you're fully in the present. This is why body awareness is such a powerful meditation practice. Your body is an anchor to the now that's always available to you. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, despite living over 1800 years ago, understood this. He wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up, if thou wilt ever dig." The body is part of that within. It's a source of wisdom we've learned to ignore. Your body knows things before your mind does. Have you ever walked into a room and felt immediately uncomfortable, though you couldn't say why? That's your body reading signals your conscious mind hasn't processed yet. Have you ever had a gut feeling about something that turned out to be right? That's body wisdom. But we've been taught to override these signals, to push through fatigue, to ignore discomfort, to treat the body as an inconvenience rather than a teacher. And this disconnection has consequences. When we're disconnected from our bodies, we don't notice stress building until it becomes chronic. We don't notice the early signs of illness. We eat without tasting. We move without feeling. We're physically present but experientially absent. Thich Nhat Hanh teaches a practice called body scanning that I find transformative. It's simple. You bring your attention systematically through your whole body, part by part, just noticing sensations without trying to change anything. Let's try a brief version right now. Bring your attention to your feet. What do they feel like? Warm or cool? Tense or relaxed? Tingling, heavy, light? Don't judge whatever you find. Just notice. Now move your attention to your lower legs, your knees, your thighs, your hips, your belly, your chest, your back, your shoulders, your arms, your hands, your neck, your face, the top of your head. As you move through the body, you're not trying to make anything happen. You're simply saying hello to each part of yourself. This is your home. These are the rooms where you live. What did you notice? Were there areas you couldn't feel at all? Areas of tension you weren't aware of? Areas that felt good? All of this is valuable information. Your body is showing you where you're holding stress, where you're numb, where you're alive. The poet Rumi wrote, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love." What if part of what we really love, beneath everything else, is simply inhabiting this body fully, feeling what it feels like to be alive in physical form? In yoga philosophy, there's a concept called ahimsa, which means non-harming. We usually think of this in terms of how we treat others, but it also applies to how we treat ourselves, especially our bodies. When we push past our limits constantly, when we ignore pain, when we criticize our physical form, we're practicing harm. What would it look like to practice kindness toward your body? To listen when it says it needs rest? To feed it nourishing food? To move it in ways that feel good? To speak to it with appreciation rather than criticism? Many meditation traditions include walking meditation as a core practice. This isn't about getting somewhere. It's about feeling each step. Heel touching ground, weight shifting, foot lifting, leg moving forward. Step by step, completely present with the physical act of walking. You can turn any physical activity into a mindfulness practice. Washing your hands can become a meditation if you really feel the water, the soap, the sensation of your hands moving together. Stretching in the morning can be a practice if you pay attention to how each muscle feels as it lengthens. The key is attention. Bringing your full awareness to the physical experience without drifting into thinking about it. There's a difference between feeling your body and thinking about your body. One brings you into presence. The other keeps you in your head. I want to share something that might surprise you. Research has shown that people who practice regular body awareness have better emotional regulation. Why? Because emotions aren't just mental. They're physical experiences. Anxiety is a tight chest and shallow breathing. Anger is heat and tension. Sadness is heaviness and fatigue. When you can feel these physical sensations as they arise, before they fully develop into overwhelming emotions, you have a choice about how to respond. You catch the wave while it's still small rather than after it's crashed over you. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Body awareness gives you space between what happens and how you react. That space is where your freedom lives. Practice daily body check-in. 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. Pause for just 1 minute to check in with your body. Ask yourself, what are the 3 most prominent sensations in my body right now? Where am I holding tension? What does my breathing feel like? If my body could speak, what would it tell me? You don't need to fix or change anything. Just listen. Just notice. Treat your body as a friend you're checking in with, not a problem you're trying to solve. This simple practice, done consistently, will bring you back into your body throughout the day. And your body, in turn, will become a reliable anchor for your mindfulness practice. You'll start to notice sensations more quickly, both pleasant and unpleasant. You'll feel more alive, more present, more at home in yourself. Your body is not in the way of your spiritual practice. Your body is the practice. Honor it, listen to it, and it will teach you things about presence that no book or teacher ever could. Chapter 5. Thoughts as Clouds, Learning Detachment. Here's something that might change your life. You are not your thoughts. I know that sounds strange. After all, you experience thoughts as coming from you, as being you. When you think, "I'm anxious," or "I'm not good enough," it feels like a statement of fact about who you are. But what if those thoughts are more like weather passing through the sky of your consciousness? The Buddha used this exact metaphor 25 centuries ago. He taught that thoughts, feelings, and sensations are like clouds drifting across the sky. They come and they go. The sky doesn't grab onto the clouds. It doesn't push them away. It simply allows them to pass through. You are the sky, not the clouds. This distinction is one of the most liberating insights meditation can offer. When you really understand it, it changes everything. Because if you're not your thoughts, then you don't have to believe everything you think. Think about that for a moment. You don't have to believe everything you think. Right now, thoughts are probably arising in your mind. Maybe you're thinking about what you'll do after you finish listening to this. Maybe you're judging whether what I'm saying makes sense. Maybe you're distracted by a noise or a physical sensation. Thoughts are constantly arising, like bubbles in a stream. Marcus Aurelius, in his private journal, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But we could take this further. You also have power over your relationship to your thoughts. You can't always control which thoughts arise, but you can choose whether to believe them, follow them, or let them pass. Let me give you an example from everyday life. You're sitting in a meeting and a thought arises, "I sound so stupid right now. Everyone must think I'm incompetent." If you believe this thought is true, if you identify with it, you might stop speaking up. You might become anxious and withdrawn. But what if you could notice that thought like you notice a cloud? There's a self-judging thought. Interesting. You see the thought, you acknowledge it, but you don't have to climb into it and make it your reality. It's just a thought. It will pass, like all thoughts do. The Vietnamese teacher Thich Nhat Hanh offers a beautiful practice for this. When a difficult thought arises, you simply say, "Hello, my dear friend. I see you." You're not fighting the thought. You're not trying to make it go away. You're just acknowledging it without giving it power over you. This is what detachment means in meditation. Not that you become cold or unfeeling, but that you create a little space between your awareness and the content of your thoughts. In that space, there's freedom. The Persian poet Rumi wrote, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." Often, those barriers are thoughts. Thoughts that say you're not worthy. Thoughts that predict disaster. Thoughts that keep you locked in old patterns. Eckhart Tolle asks a powerful question. What will your next thought be? Try it right now. What will your next thought be? If you wait and watch, you'll notice something interesting. For a moment, there are no thoughts. There's just awareness, watching, waiting. And in that gap between thoughts, there's peace. This is what meditation gives you access to, the space between thoughts, the stillness beneath the mental chatter. It's not that you'll never think again. Thinking is useful, but you'll no longer be tyrannized by thinking. You'll be able to think when you want to think and rest in awareness when you don't. The ancient Greek philosopher Epictetus taught that it's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. This is the same insight. It's not the external event that causes your suffering. It's the thoughts you have about the event. You lose your job. That's a fact. But then the thoughts come. I'm a failure. I'll never find another job. Everyone will judge me. My life is ruined. These thoughts create suffering far beyond the actual event. But if you can see those thoughts as clouds, you might notice. Catastrophic thinking, fear about the future, self-judgment. And in that noticing, you create space to respond differently. Yes, losing a job is challenging, but it's not the same as the story your mind wants to tell about it. This doesn't mean ignoring real problems or accepting unacceptable behavior. It means approaching situations with curiosity and compassion rather than immediately jumping to negative interpretations. Epictetus taught, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." In relationships, this wisdom is golden. Most of us want to be heard more than we want to listen. But what if we reversed that? What if we made it our mission to truly understand the other person before worrying about being understood ourselves? I want to share something personal. There was a period in my life when my closest relationships were strained. I was physically present but mentally elsewhere, always distracted, always half listening. The people I loved most felt it, even if they couldn't name it. When I started practicing mindfulness, I realized how much I'd been missing. I'd been in the same room as people I loved, but not actually with them. So I made a commitment. When someone I care about is speaking to me, I put everything else down. I turn toward them. I listen with my whole being. That simple change transformed my relationships. Not because I became perfect, but because people felt the difference when I was truly present with them. In Zen Buddhism, there's a concept called beginner's mind, approaching each moment as if for the first time, without all our assumptions and judgments. Try bringing beginner's mind to people you've known for years. See them freshly, as if you're meeting them for the first time. You might be surprised by what you notice. Lao Tzu wrote, "Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power." Mindfulness in relationships starts with knowing yourself, your triggers, your patterns, your reactivity. From that self-awareness, you can show up more fully for others. Practice mindful moments in daily life. Choose 3 transition points in your day to practice mindfulness. Morning. Before you start your workday, take 3 conscious breaths. Set an intention. Today I will be present with whatever I'm doing. Midday. When you break for lunch, eat at least the first few bites in complete silence. Really taste your food. This brings you back to your body and the present moment. Evening. When you first see your partner, family, or roommate, give them 60 seconds of completely undivided attention. No phone, no distraction, just presence. Look at them, listen to them, be with them. These small moments of intentional presence will ripple out into your entire day. You'll find yourself more focused at work, more patient in traffic, more connected in your relationships. The practice isn't about being perfect. It's about remembering to come back. Again and again, returning to presence. That's the path of integrating mindfulness into every aspect of your life. Chapter 6. Emotional Balance. Responding instead of reacting. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt a strong emotion and handled it exactly the way you wished you had? For most of us, that's a rare experience. More often, emotions sweep through us like storms, and we find ourselves saying or doing things we later regret. We react instead of respond. We get hijacked by our feelings and lose access to our wisdom. But here's what mindfulness practice reveals. There's a space between feeling an emotion and acting on it. And in that space lies your freedom. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He was pointing to something essential. We can't always control what we feel, but we can learn to work skillfully with our emotions rather than being controlled by them. Think about the last time someone cut you off in traffic. Instantly, anger probably flared up. Maybe you honked your horn, cursed, felt your body tense. That's a reaction, automatic, unconscious, immediate. It happens before you even have time to think. But imagine if, in that moment, You had a split second of awareness. You notice anger is arising. Just that one moment of recognition changes everything. Suddenly, you have a choice. You can still feel the anger, but you don't have to let it drive your actions. That's the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is unconscious and automatic. Responding is conscious and intentional. Mindfulness practice expands that tiny space between stimulus and response, giving you room to choose. The Buddha described emotions as guests in the house of awareness. He said we should greet each one at the door, acknowledge it, but we don't have to let it rearrange all the furniture. We can feel anger without becoming anger. We can feel sadness without being consumed by sadness. This is emotional balance. Not the absence of emotion, but a different relationship with emotion. A relationship based on awareness rather than identification. In Western psychology, we often talk about emotional regulation. In Eastern philosophy, it's sometimes called equanimity. Different words for a similar idea. The capacity to remain centered and clear in the midst of changing emotional weather. Thich Nhat Hanh offers a beautiful image for this. He says that when a storm comes, the surface of the ocean is wild and turbulent. But if you dive deep enough, there's a place of calm beneath the waves. That calm is always there, even when the surface is rough. You are like that ocean. Your emotions are the surface waves. And mindfulness practice teaches you to access the depth, the still point within that remains peaceful even when emotions are stormy. Let me be clear about something important. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending you don't feel what you feel. Emotional balance isn't about becoming a robot. It's about feeling fully while maintaining your center. In fact, suppressing emotions is the opposite of mindfulness. When we push emotions away, judge them as bad, or try to pretend they're not there, we create more suffering. What we resist persists. The emotions we won't acknowledge tend to grow stronger and come out in unhealthy ways. Instead, mindfulness teaches us to feel emotions fully, but without drowning in them. We create space to experience the emotion, investigate it with curiosity, and let it move through us. Here's a practice that helps with this. When a strong emotion arises, instead of getting lost in the story about why you're feeling this way, bring your attention to the physical sensations of the emotion in your body. Where do you feel anger? Maybe it's heat in your chest, tension in your jaw, a clenched fist. Where do you feel sadness? Perhaps it's heaviness in your chest, tightness in your throat, tears welling up. Where do you feel anxiety? It might be a knot in your stomach, shallow breathing, tension in your shoulders. When you focus on the physical sensations rather than the mental story, something interesting happens. The emotion becomes more manageable. It's no longer this overwhelming thing that's taken over your entire being. It's a collection of sensations in your body. And sensations rise and fall, change and shift. The Persian poet Rumi wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." He understood that our painful emotions, when we're willing to really feel them, can teach us and transform us. But we have to be willing to sit with them rather than running away. I remember a time when I was going through a difficult breakup. The sadness felt overwhelming. My mind wanted to distract itself constantly, scrolling through my phone, keeping busy, anything to avoid feeling the pain. But I decided to try something different. I sat in meditation and just let myself feel it. All of it. I didn't try to fix it or make it better. I noticed where the sadness lived in my body. I let tears come if they needed to come. And something amazing happened. The sadness didn't destroy me. It moved through me like a wave, and beneath it, I found something solid, a deeper part of myself that could hold even this pain with compassion. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This is the power of mindfulness, the ability to change your relationship to your experience, even when you can't change the experience itself. But let's be practical. In the heat of the moment, when emotion is strong, how do you actually access this space of awareness? Here are some tools that help. First, breathe. When strong emotion arises, your breath almost always becomes shallow and rapid. Consciously slowing and deepening your breath activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural calming mechanism. 3 slow, deep breaths can shift your entire state. Second, name it. Research has shown that simply labeling an emotion reduces its intensity. I'm feeling angry right now. This is anxiety. Sadness is present. Naming creates a little distance, moves you from being the emotion to observing the emotion. Third, feel it in your body. As I mentioned, locating the physical sensations of emotion grounds you in the present moment and makes the emotion more workable. Fourth, make space for it. Instead of trying to push the emotion away, say to yourself, "This is allowed to be here." Give it permission to exist. Paradoxically, when we stop fighting our emotions, they often soften. The Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh teaches a practice he calls taking care of strong emotions. He suggests you cradle your emotion like you would a crying baby. You don't judge the baby for crying. You don't tell it to stop. You hold it with tenderness and say, "I'm here for you." Can you do that with your own emotions? Hold them with that kind of gentle attention. This practice of emotional balance doesn't happen overnight. You'll still get swept away by feelings sometimes. You'll still react in ways you wish you hadn't. That's part of being human. But gradually, with consistent practice, that space between stimulus and response expands. You catch yourself a little sooner. You have a moment of choice a little more often. And those moments add up. They transform your relationships, your work, your inner life. Because when you're not being tossed around by every emotional wave, when you can feel deeply but not be overwhelmed, you become more present, more compassionate, more wise. Lao Tzu said, "Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power." Emotional balance is that mastery, not control in the sense of domination, but understanding. Partnership with your emotional life rather than war with it. Practice. Rein for difficult emotions. When a difficult emotion arises, try this 4-step practice called rein, taught by meditation teacher Tara Brach. Recognize, notice that an emotion is present. Name it if you can. This is anger. This is fear. Allow. Let the emotion be there without trying to fix it or push it away. This is allowed to be here. Investigate. Get curious about the emotion. Where do you feel it in your body? What does it really feel like? What is it trying to tell you? Nurture. Offer yourself compassion. Place a hand on your heart if that feels right. Speak to yourself as you would to a dear friend who's struggling. This practice takes just a few minutes. but it transforms your relationship with difficult emotions. Instead of being enemies to fight, they become messengers to listen to. And in that listening, you find balance, wisdom, and peace. Chapter 7: Silence and Stillness, Finding Peace in Noise. We live in the loudest time in human history. Not just physically loud, though our world is certainly full of noise. But there's another kind of noise that's even more pervasive: the constant stream of information, stimulation, and distraction that fills every moment of our lives. When was the last time you experienced true silence? Not just the absence of sound, but the absence of input. No music, no podcasts, no notifications, no screens. Just you and the world around you, unmediated and direct. For most of us, that kind of silence feels almost frightening. We've become addicted to noise, to constant stimulation. We check our phones an average of over 100 times a day. We fall asleep to television and wake up to alarms. We fill every gap, every transition, every moment of potential stillness with something. But in that silence we're avoiding, there's something precious, something essential to our well-being that we've lost touch with. The Christian mystic Meister Eckhart wrote, "Nothing in all creation is so like God as silence." Whether you're religious or not, there's wisdom here. In silence, we touch something deeper than the surface chatter of our lives. We come home to ourselves. Blaise Pascal, the French philosopher, observed, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." He wrote that in the 17th century, long before smartphones and social media. Imagine what he'd think now. We've lost the art of being still, of doing nothing, of simply being present without constant entertainment or distraction. And this loss has consequences. When we never allow ourselves silence and stillness, we never give our nervous system a chance to truly rest. We're constantly in a state of low-level activation, always slightly on edge, always waiting for the next notification, the next stimulus. Our minds are like snow globes that have been shaken. The snow is swirling constantly, and we never see clearly. Silence and stillness allow the snow to settle. They allow clarity to emerge. In meditation, we often talk about noble silence. This isn't just the absence of speech. It's a quality of presence, of deep listening, of being fully here without the need to fill space with words or activity. I want you to think about the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a painful feeling of disconnection, of being isolated against your will. But solitude is something else entirely. Solitude is choosing to be alone, to be quiet, to turn inward. And solitude, when embraced, is nourishing rather than depleting. The problem is that we've confused the two. We're afraid that if we're alone with ourselves, we'll feel lonely. So we constantly surround ourselves with noise and distraction. But the irony is that you can feel lonely in a crowded room, and you can feel deeply connected in solitude. Lao Tzu taught, "Silence is a source of great strength." When you're silent and still, you're not weak or passive. You're accessing a different kind of power, the power of presence, the power of deep listening, the power of being rather than doing. Think about a time when you were in nature, away from all the noise of modern life. Maybe you were hiking in the mountains, or sitting by a quiet lake, or walking through a forest. Remember how that felt? The way your nervous system began to unwind? the way your thoughts slowed down, the way you could actually hear yourself think. That's what silence offers. Not emptiness, but fullness. Not absence, but presence. But you don't have to go to the wilderness to find silence. You can create moments of silence and stillness in your everyday life. In fact, that's where the practice really matters. Bringing that quality of quiet presence into the middle of your busy, noisy world. The Japanese have a beautiful concept called ma. It refers to the space between things, the pause between notes in music, the empty space in a painting, the silence between words. They understand that the space between is as important as the things themselves. In our lives, we've eliminated all the ma. We've filled every gap, scheduled every moment, eliminated every pause. But without those spaces, life becomes exhausting and overwhelming. We need the emptiness to appreciate the fullness. Rumi wrote, "In silence there is eloquence. Stop weaving and see how the pattern improves." We think we need to constantly do, constantly produce, constantly engage. But sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is nothing. Just stop and be still and see what emerges. I practice what I call stillness breaks throughout my day. Just 3 minutes where I stop whatever I'm doing, close my eyes, and sit in silence. No meditation technique, no goal, just stillness. At first, these breaks felt uncomfortable. My mind would immediately start listing all the things I should be doing instead. But gradually, I began to crave these moments. They became islands of peace in a chaotic day, places where I could remember who I am beneath all the doing. The Christian contemplative Thomas Merton said, "We live in a society that has substituted doing for being." This is the illness of our time. We've forgotten how to simply be. We think our value comes from what we accomplish, what we produce, how busy we are. But in stillness, we remember a different truth. We are already valuable, already whole, already enough, not because of what we do, but because of what we are. Human beings, not human doings. When we practice silence and stillness regularly, something shifts. We become less reactive, more responsive. We have more space inside us. We're not so overwhelmed by the constant input and stimulation. We can hear our own wisdom more clearly. This is especially important in relationships. How often do we really listen to another person in silence, without planning what we're going to say next, without interrupting, without trying to fix or change anything? Just listening with our full presence? That quality of silent, attentive listening is a gift we can offer others. And it comes from practicing that same quality of listening with ourselves. Thich Nhat Hanh teaches a practice of eating in silence, not as punishment or restriction, but as a way to really taste your food, to appreciate each bite, to be present with the simple act of nourishing your body. Try it sometime. Eat one meal in complete silence, with no phone, no book, no conversation. Just you and your food. It's surprisingly profound. The ancient practice of meditation is really just the practice of silence and stillness. We're not trying to achieve anything special. We're simply learning to be quiet and present. And in that simplicity lies transformation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." The silence we're looking for isn't just external. It's internal. It's the silence beneath all the mental noise, the stillness at the center of all the activity. And that inner silence is always available to you. Even in the midst of noise and chaos, you can drop into that quiet center. That's what meditation practice develops, the ability to access your inner stillness regardless of external circumstances. Practice, a daily silence practice. I'd like you to commit to 10 minutes of silence every day for the next week. Here's how. Choose a time when you're unlikely to be interrupted. Morning is often best, before the day's demands begin. Sit somewhere comfortable. Turn off all devices. No music, no sounds, no input of any kind. For the first few minutes, just notice all the noise you usually tune out. The hum of appliances, distant traffic, birds, your own breathing. Then let your attention rest in the silence beneath and between the sounds. There's a quality of quiet that exists even in the presence of sound. See if you can feel that. Don't try to make anything happen. Don't judge your experience. Just sit in silence and stillness, being present with whatever is. When the 10 minutes are up, notice how you feel. Different than before? The difference, however subtle, is the gift of silence. It's always there, always available, always waiting to receive you when you're ready to stop and be still. In our noisy world, silence is revolutionary. Stillness is rebellious. By practicing both, you're reclaiming something essential to your humanity that the modern world tries to take from you. You're coming home to yourself. Chapter 8. Gratitude and Compassion, Opening the Heart. Here's a question that might surprise you. When was the last time you felt grateful for your next breath? Not in an abstract way, but really felt it. The miracle that you can breathe at all, that your lungs expand and fill with air without you having to think about it, that oxygen enters your bloodstream and travels to every cell in your body, keeping you alive. We take for granted the most extraordinary things. The fact that you woke up this morning, that you can see, hear, move, that your heart has been beating every second of every day since before you were born. Gratitude is not just a nice emotion. It's a practice that fundamentally transforms how we experience life. And it's deeply connected to mindfulness, because both are about paying attention to what's actually here rather than what's missing. The Roman Stoic Epictetus taught, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he is not, but rejoices for those which he has." This is the essence of gratitude, focusing on what we have rather than what we lack. But our minds don't naturally work this way. We're wired for what psychologists call negativity bias. We notice problems, threats, and what's wrong far more readily than we notice what's right. This made sense for our ancestors. Spotting the danger kept them alive. But in modern life, it means we often overlook the good while fixating on the bad. Gratitude practice retrains the mind. It teaches us to notice the good that's always present alongside the challenges, not as fake positivity or denial, but as a more complete and accurate view of reality. Think about your life right now. If you're listening to this, you have access to technology, to education, to time for self-reflection. You're not in immediate physical danger. You have enough. These aren't small things, even though we treat them as such. Thich Nhat Hanh has a beautiful teaching about this. He says, people usually consider walking on water or in thin air a miracle. But I think the real miracle is not to walk either on water or in thin air, but to walk on earth. Every day we are engaged in a miracle which we don't even recognize: a blue sky, white clouds, green leaves, the the black, curious eyes of a child, our own two eyes. All is a miracle. When we practice gratitude, we start to see these miracles. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. We realize that what we've been seeking is already here. But gratitude goes even deeper than appreciating the good things. It also means finding meaning in difficult experiences, being grateful not just for joy, but for the challenges that helped you grow, not just for pleasure, but for the pain that made you wiser and more compassionate. The poet Rumi wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Can you feel gratitude even for your wounds? For the struggles that broke you open and helped you become who you are? This isn't about being grateful for harm or injustice. It's about finding value in your own journey, including the hard parts. It's about recognizing that everything in your life has taught you something. Now let's talk about compassion, which is gratitude's close companion. Compassion means to suffer with. It's the capacity to recognize suffering in yourself and others, and to meet it with kindness rather than judgment. The Dalai Lama says, "If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion." This isn't just philosophical wisdom. Research has shown that practicing compassion actually makes us happier, healthier, and more resilient. Practice gratitude and compassion meditation. Take 5 minutes today for this practice. Sit quietly and bring to mind 3 things you're grateful for. Not just big things, but small ones too. Your morning coffee, a kind word from a friend, the feeling of warm water in your shower. As you think of each one, really feel the gratitude in your body. Let it be more than a mental list. Let it fill your chest with warmth. Then bring to mind someone who could use some kindness right now. Maybe someone you know is struggling, or maybe just a stranger you saw today who looked tired or sad. Place your hand on your heart and offer them these wishes. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. May you be at peace. Then offer those same wishes to yourself. You deserve your own compassion just as much as anyone else does. Notice how you feel after this practice. There's often a softness, a warmth, an opening. That's the feeling of your heart becoming more available to life. That's the gift of gratitude and compassion. And it's yours anytime you choose to practice it. Chapter 9. Integrating mindfulness into work and relationships. So far, we've talked about formal meditation practice, sitting quietly, focusing on breath, cultivating awareness. But if mindfulness only exists on the meditation cushion, it's not much use. The real practice is bringing that quality of presence into every aspect of your life. Let's start with work, since that's where most of us spend the majority of our waking hours. How often are you truly present with your work? Not just physically at your desk, but mentally engaged with what you're doing? For most people, work involves a lot of multitasking, switching between tasks, half attention on several things at once. We check email while on a call. We plan the next meeting while in the current one. We're physically present but mentally scattered. The research on multitasking is clear. It doesn't work. We're not actually doing multiple things at once. We're rapidly switching between tasks, and each switch costs us time, energy, and quality. We make more mistakes. We miss important details. We feel more stressed and overwhelmed. Mindful work means single tasking, giving your full attention to one thing at a time. When you're writing an email, just write the email. When you're in a meeting, just be in the meeting. When you're solving a problem, just solve the problem. This sounds simple, but try it. Notice how often your attention wants to drift to something else. Notice the urge to check your phone, to refresh your email, to think about what's next on your list. Each time you notice and bring yourself back, you're strengthening your capacity for focus. You're training your mind to stay where you've placed it. Thich Nhat Hanh tells a story about washing dishes. He says you can wash dishes to get them clean so you can do something else. In that case, you're not really washing dishes. You're trying to get to the future. Or you can wash dishes to wash dishes, being fully present with warm water, soap bubbles, the feel of each plate in your hands. The same applies to any work task. You can do it to get it done, always leaning toward what's next. Or you can do it fully, being present with the task itself. One way leads to stress and distraction. The other leads to flow, engagement, and satisfaction. Marcus Aurelius, who was literally running an empire, wrote, "Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice." This is mindful work. Full presence and attention with whatever is before you. But work isn't just about tasks. It's also about people, colleagues, clients, bosses, employees. And this is where mindfulness practice becomes even more important. How often are you truly listening when someone is talking to you at work? Not just hearing their words while you formulate your response, but really listening? Paying attention not just to what they're saying, but how they're saying it. Noticing their tone, their body language, the emotions beneath the words. Most conversations, especially at work, are two people waiting for their turn to talk. We're not really listening. We're planning our next point, judging what they're saying, or thinking about something else entirely. Mindful listening means bringing your full presence to the other person, putting down your phone, making eye contact, being genuinely curious about their perspective, not rushing to respond, but taking a breath and letting their words land before you speak. The Buddhist concept of right speech is relevant here. Before you speak, ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Those three questions can prevent so much unnecessary conflict and suffering at work. Now let's talk about bringing mindfulness into relationships with partners, family, friends. This might be even more important than mindful work, because these are the relationships that matter most to our well-being. The poet Rumi wrote, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love." What we really love, beneath everything, is connection. Real, genuine, heartfelt connection with other human beings. But true connection requires presence. You can't deeply connect with someone while you're distracted, while half your attention is on your phone, while you're thinking about tomorrow's worries. Think about the last meaningful conversation you had with someone you love. What made it meaningful? Probably not the specific words that were said, but the quality of presence. You were both there, fully. You saw each other. You felt seen. This is what mindfulness brings to relationships, the capacity to truly show up. To be here now with this person, giving them the gift of your full attention. But mindfulness in relationships isn't just about positive moments. It's especially important in conflict. When someone says something that hurts or angers us, our default is to react immediately, to defend, to attack, to shut down. What if, instead, you could pause, take a breath, Notice what you're feeling in your body. See the space between stimulus and response. From that space, you can choose how to respond. You can speak from wisdom rather than reactivity. You can acknowledge your partner's feelings even while expressing your own. You can stay connected even in the midst of disagreement. Thich Nhat Hanh teaches a practice for couples in conflict. When tension arises, each person takes a pause. They don't speak immediately. They breathe. They look at each other. They remember why they love this person. And only then do they engage with the issue. This simple pause changes everything. It prevents so many hurtful words spoken in reactivity. It keeps the relationship more important than being right. The Dalai Lama says, "Be kind whenever possible." It is always possible. But kindness in the heat of emotion requires mindfulness. It requires catching yourself before you say the cutting remark, before you roll your eyes, before you shut down. Mindfulness also helps us recognize our patterns in relationships. Maybe you notice you always get defensive when criticized. Maybe you shut down when conflict arises. Maybe you try to fix everything instead of just listening. These patterns are unconscious until we bring awareness to them. Once you see a pattern clearly, you have the opportunity to change it. Not overnight, but gradually. Each time you catch yourself falling into the old pattern, you can choose differently. That's how healing and growth happen in relationships. One of the most powerful mindfulness practices for relationships is to assume positive intent. When your partner does something that bothers you, instead of immediately assuming the worst, pause and consider, what if they meant well? What if they were trying their best? What if there's an explanation you don't know? This doesn't. Chapter 10, A Lifelong Path, Daily Practices for Inner Strength. We've come to the final chapter of this journey together, but really, this is just the beginning. Everything we've explored, breathing, presence, body awareness, working with thoughts and emotions, silence, gratitude, compassion, and bringing mindfulness into daily life. These aren't concepts to understand intellectually. They're practices to live. The word practice is important. You don't master these things once and then you're done. You practice them every day for the rest of your life. Not as a burden, but as a gift you give yourself. Think of it like physical exercise. You can't go to the gym once and be fit forever. You have to keep showing up, keep moving your body, keep building strength. The same is true for meditation and mindfulness. They're exercises for your mind and heart that require consistent practice. The Buddha, near the end of his life, was asked by his attendant Ananda what would happen after he died. Who would be the teacher? The Buddha replied, "Be a lamp unto yourself. Be your own refuge. Seek for no other." He was pointing to something essential. The practice itself is the teacher. Your own experience is the authority. No one can do this work for you. No teacher, no book, no podcast can give you inner peace. They can point the way, but you have to walk the path yourself. And the beautiful thing is that you already have everything you need. You have your breath, your body, your awareness. That's enough. But I want to be honest with you about something. This path isn't always easy. There will be days when meditation feels pointless. Days when you're too busy, too tired, too distracted. Days when you forget to practice entirely. This is normal. This is part of the journey. The practice is not about perfection. It's about beginning again. Every single day, you get to start fresh. Every single moment, you can return to presence. No matter how many times you've drifted away, the next breath is an opportunity to come back. Marcus Aurelius, who kept a journal of his own philosophical practices, wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This is the spirit of daily practice. Not obligation, but privilege. Not something you have to do, but something you get to do. So let's talk about how to sustain this practice over time. How do you make mindfulness not just something you do occasionally, but a way of life? First, start small. Don't commit to meditating for an hour every day. That's overwhelming, and when you inevitably miss a day, you'll feel like a failure. Instead, commit to something so small you can't fail. 5 minutes, even 2 minutes. The key is consistency, not duration. The ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu said, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." Your meditation practice is that journey. Each breath is a step. You don't need to see the destination. You just need to take the next step. Second, tie your practice to something you already do every day. This is called habit stacking. Maybe you meditate right after you brush your teeth in the morning, or before you go to bed at night, or during your lunch break at work. By linking it to an existing habit, you're more likely to remember and follow through. Third, create a dedicated space if you can. It doesn't have to be elaborate. A corner of a room, a cushion or chair, maybe a candle or a plant. Having a physical place that's just for practice signals to your brain that when you're there, it's time to be present. Fourth, find community if possible. Practicing alone is valuable, but practicing with others can sustain you when motivation wanes. This might be a local meditation group, an online community, or just a friend who also meditates. Knowing others are on the path with you makes a difference. Thich Nhat Hanh teaches about Sangha, community of practice. He says, "The next Buddha may take the form of a community practicing understanding and loving kindness." You don't have to do this alone, but perhaps most importantly, be kind to yourself. You will miss days. You will get distracted during meditation. You will react instead of respond. You will forget everything you've learned and fall back into old patterns. This is guaranteed. It's part of being human. The practice is meeting yourself with compassion in those moments. Not beating yourself up, not giving up, but simply acknowledging what happened and beginning again. As many times as necessary, you begin again. Pema Chödrön says, meditation practice isn't about trying to throw ourselves away and become something better. It's about befriending who we are already. This is revolutionary in a culture that's constantly telling us we're not enough, that we need to fix ourselves, that we should be different than we are. Mindfulness says, you're already whole. You're already enough. The practice is simply removing the layers of distraction and delusion that prevent you from recognizing this truth. Now, let me share some daily practices you can weave into your life. These are simple, but when done consistently, they're transformative. Morning practice. Before you reach for your phone, before you start your day, sit up in bed and take 3 conscious breaths. Set an intention for the day. Today, I will practice patience. Today, I will notice beauty. Today, I will be kind to myself. Transition practice. Throughout the day, use transitions as reminders to return to presence. When you open a door, take a breath. When you hear your phone ring, pause before answering. When you turn on your computer, feel your body in the chair. Walking practice. Choose one daily walk, to your car, to the kitchen, wherever, and do it mindfully. Feel each step. Notice your surroundings. Be fully present with the simple act of walking. Eating practice. Eat at least one meal per week in silence, giving your full attention to the food. Taste it. Smell it. Notice texture, temperature, flavor. This simple practice connects you to your body and to gratitude. Listening practice. Once per day, give someone your completely undivided attention. No phone, no planning your response, no distraction. Just listen with your whole being. Evening practice. Before sleep, reflect on 3 things you're grateful for from the day. They can be tiny things, a moment of sunlight, a kind word, a deep breath. This practice trains your mind to notice the good that's always present. Formal practice. And yes, set aside time, even just 5 or 10 minutes, for formal sitting meditation. This is your anchor, the foundation that supports all the other practices. The Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, the most precious gift we can offer anyone is our presence. This is true for others, but it's also true for yourself. The most precious gift you can offer yourself is your own presence, your own attention, your own awareness. As we close this journey together, I want to come back to where we began. Why does daily meditation and mindfulness matter? Not because it will make you a better person, though it might. Not because it will solve all your problems, though it will help. Not because it will make you enlightened, though it may offer glimpses of something beyond ordinary experience. It matters because this moment, right now, is your life. Not the past, which is gone. Not the future, which hasn't arrived. This breath, this heartbeat, this moment of awareness. This is what you have. This is what you've always had. And mindfulness practice is simply the art of being fully alive for your own life. Not half present, not distracted, not living on autopilot while your days slip by unnoticed. But here, awake, aware, engage with the actual texture of your experience. Rumi wrote, "Let the beauty we love be what we do." There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Your daily practice is your way of kissing the ground, your way of saying yes to life, to presence, to this precious, fleeting, extraordinary experience of being alive. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment to begin. You don't need to be in a better place emotionally. You don't need more time, more quiet, more of anything. You can begin right now with your next breath. That's all it takes. Just this breath, fully experienced. And then the next. And then the next. That's the path. It's always been the path. And you're already walking it, right now, in this very moment. So welcome to this practice. Welcome to this path. Welcome to your life, fully lived, fully felt, fully present. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free. May you know the profound joy of being fully alive. And may you remember, again and again, to come back to this breath, this moment, this now. Because this is where your life is happening. This is where peace lives. This is where you've always been meant to arrive. Thank you for taking this journey with me. And remember, every moment is a new beginning. Every breath is an invitation to come home. And that invitation is always open, always waiting, always here for you. Final practice, your daily commitment. As we close, I invite you to make a commitment to yourself. Not a harsh, rigid commitment that sets you up for failure, but a gentle, loving commitment to show up for yourself each day. Write down or speak aloud this intention. I commit to bringing mindful awareness to my life, one breath at a time. I will be patient with myself. I will begin again as many times as necessary. I will meet each moment with as much presence as I can offer, knowing that this is enough. Then choose one practice from this book that resonates most with you and commit to doing it every day for the next 30 days. Just one. Not everything. Just one thing, consistently. Maybe it's 5 minutes of breath meditation. Maybe it's the body scan before sleep. Maybe it's eating one meal mindfully per week. Maybe it's 3 conscious breaths each morning. Choose what feels sustainable and meaningful to you, and then do it. Not perfectly, but persistently. After 30 days, you can add another practice. But for now, just one. Build slowly, build sustainably, build with self-compassion. This is your path now. No one can walk it for you, but you're not walking it alone. Millions of people throughout history and around the world right now are on this same journey, learning to be present, learning to wake up to their own lives. And with each breath you take in awareness, you join them. You become part of an ancient lineage of practitioners who have discovered that the deepest peace, the truest freedom, and the most profound joy are found not in some distant future or exotic place, but right here, right now, in this very moment. Welcome home.